here's where we are after being in Tiffin-ville. I will say that I am like sold on the Tiffin cult, and here's why. The sales lady, who was not that awesome at her job, but I made a comment about how I knew when I was in a Tiffin, like the quality is night and day. And she said, well, do you know the Tiffin backstory? The story that she told me is that Mr. Tiffin used to work for Winnebago, and his company was the sole contractor for all the cabinets on the Winnebagos. And then one day they were like, we're not doing these anymore, and they started using like the laminate cheap cabinets. So his whole livelihood went down the drain. And he responded to that by saying, all right, well, that's fine. I'm just going to start making RVs now. And so the premise of his company was that he would make the highest quality RVs with the highest quality materials and would not take any shortcuts, because taking a shortcut is what ended his job. That just like spoke to my soul in so many different ways, because that's basically kind of what happened to me. Is they wanted to cheap down the product. They didn't need me. And then I went out on my own. And so I was like, here, take all my money, Tiffin. Like, I totally support your cause. That is an important step, because when you feel like you are being ripped off or that you're not getting quality, it's hard to fall in love with something. And I am like all about the Tiffin brand right now. So I went down to the closest Tiffin dealer. I did not realize that the reason that there's no Tiffins around me is because they're really selective about who they sell with. So it was an hour and a half drive. There was not one that I wanted to buy. I want to buy the 28-foot one, which is really hard to find. The only thing they had was a 35-foot. And here's my hang up. When I sat in the driver's seat, I felt really overwhelmed. It is huge. There will be no more navigating in small towns. I'll be constantly worried about getting under a bridge or low branches. It is a beast. It is a beast. However, when I turn around on the other side, that's what I want to live in. That's what I want my full-time home in. I can put a desk in there. It is beautiful. All the boxes are checked for where I want to live. But when I sit in the driver's seat, I'm scared to death. They would not let me test drive it. It was a $250,000 rig, and they said we are not putting any miles on this thing until we know someone is serious with a deposit. And I get that. Like, I respect that. But I'm like really nervous about driving that thing. And so I took a friend of mine who knows a lot about cars. I mentioned him before. And he was like, I'm just afraid that you're going to buy this and in 2 weeks you're going to resent having it because you cannot navigate very easily, and that's what you're accustomed to. So then we went across the parking lot to the Wayfair, Tiffin Wayfair, and he was all about those. He was like, this is great, it's small, it's compact, you can drive it. And I was like, you're absolutely right. This thing, I'll be able to navigate just about anywhere. It's very tiny. But when I turn around, it's not what I want to live in. I felt like I was back in the van. It's small, so it's like a makeshift bed that has to fold out. The only way I can make it work is if I slept up in the tumor, which, why would I want to sleep full time up in the tumor? The tumor is for like the kids you don't really care about. And then I'd have to make the makeshift weird bed thing my desk. The kitchen was small, everything, it's small, but it has great navigation. So one of them is the full-time house I want, but I'm afraid to drive it. I've not tried driving it yet, but like it's going to be a beast moving it anywhere. And then the other thing is not what I want to live in, but it's what I want to drive. And then the third option is if I just go get that Itasca Cambria, which is like low roof but same length, way cheaper, and just use that as an interim step in between growing the balls to drive something bigger. But you know, it's still tens of thousands of dollars. That's where I'm like, it's still tens of thousands of dollars. I'm so worn out about this, and I'm like dreading going to sleep in this car tonight. I'm kind of losing my steam, everybody. So anyway, I don't know what to do. I did have a conversation with Patreon Tom, who has just been awesome, and Patreon Deb, who I told you I talked to her. Patreon Tom's feeling is that you pick the thing you want to live in, because that is the majority of the time you're spending is you are living in it, and then you accommodate, educate, and work around moving it. And he reminded me that we have women who are truck drivers, we have women who are fire truck drivers, and they can move those, and so I can move this. And so rather than like dipping around all these small towns, I will have to change to where I go to the Walmart and then I put the Scion on the back, or probably a scooter or moped or something like that, and I use that to navigate with. Is that the most ideal way? No, but it is the most ideal living situation. Or I get something smaller. I really like the Tiffins, though, I gotta say. Like, I feel like I'm not wasting my money, even though it's all of my money, because I see the quality. Like, I can tell. Anyway, I can't even think straight. I'm, like, so sleep deprived from this van, and I haven't eaten much today, so I'm gonna have to wrap this up. But that's kind of where we are. Send me your thoughts, please. I read them all. I may not be able to respond to them all, but I do read them all. I value every single one of them. We've got 28-foot Tiffin that is high as all hell. It feels like you're driving an airplane. Great living situation, not great driving situation. No. Small Tiffin, even more expensive than this one, like $100,000. Beautiful build, not great living situation, awesome to navigate. Third situation, a Tasca Cambria, fits half the boxes on everything, way cheaper. We've already talked about that. Or I guess the fourth option is that I just put this on hold and I go buy a piece of land or, a little house or something, and then I save back up for the Tiffin or something else when I feel more comfortable. But since I bought the van with my business, my LLC, because it is a business expense, I have to do something with what was left after I took out all the money for the build and everything else, which wasn't a whole lot. I have to spend that before the end of the year unless I want to give the majority of it to the government. So we got to make some moves, and moreover, it's about to dip into the 20s this weekend, and my spirit is not going to last much longer in this car. So, let's make some decisions. I told you the options. Let me know. I gotta eat. I'll see y'all later.